Okay, hello everybody. Hello, I hope you're doing great. In 1 minute, we are going to start. In 1 minute, it's going to be 10 p.m. Central European time. So I'm going to start. Okay. So I hope your day was okay. As for me, I had a tiring day, doing lots of things I didn't understand quite much, but I'm here, and I hope we are going to have an interesting time together. So it's exactly 10 p.m. by my watch. We are here for day two of sharing my interview experience from 2018 to 2021. So today I'm going to be talking about my second interview with Capgemini, because that was my second employer. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, please try to watch that so that you can follow along. So before I talk about the interview, I would just like to talk a little bit about my experience with Accenture and why I decided to move to Capgemini. So I started working with Accenture in April as an intern. That was April 2018, because as I told you, I started a bootcamp in January. After that, we had an interview around March. So the internship started in April 2018. So the internship lasted for 6 months. And after the internship, we signed our contract. That was our first working contract. So we signed the contract. I had some problems, so I didn't sign the contract immediately because of my permit of stay in Italy, which was taking a while to come out. So I didn't start immediately with the others. So I started around, if I can remember well, I started around September. That means from July, when I finished the internship, to September, I was kind of waiting for my residence permit to be able to get a contract from them. So I started working with them in September. So I joined the team, and it was great, because even during the internship, I loved the team. I really loved the team leader with whom I was working. I mean, he was just so powerful. He knew how to explain things to us who do not have a background in computer science and had never programmed before. It was a great team leader, and I really, really loved working with him. He motivated me a lot, because when I started the journey, I kind of lacked a lot of self-confidence. So I didn't really know what I was able to do. I always doubted myself. So this team leader, which I'm going to call the name, by the way, Quirelli Lorenzo, he did a lot in motivating me, and he has always been that kind of person I look up to. Okay, I really, really want to be like him someday. I want to be so efficient in knowing my job and being able to manage people, because he was the team leader, and he really, really impacted my journey. So working with him was great. I never had any problem. And yeah, when I got the contract, I was assigned on a project. And it's true, I had worked with him before. He took us through the first steps into the tech. But when we signed the contract, we were now assigned tasks with a lot of responsibility, which was not the case during the internship. So during that time, you had your tasks, you had deadlines, you had to collaborate with a lot of people, and you had to get the job done. I mean, much was required from you, because they believe that, okay, during these 6 months, you have learned a lot, and now it's time for you to prove your competencies, which was good, because it kind of challenged me. It kind of made me come out of my shell and show what I could do. So I worked on that project. It was a project still in Java, because I was more of back end than front end. It was a project still in Java. So I worked on that project, and later on, the pressure was just too much, and I didn't really get that kind of assistance that I wanted, because at that point in time, they believe that, okay, now you can do the job, so you just need to prove that you can do it. So one of the things I didn't really get during that period was kind of assistance. I still believe that I needed somebody who was going to take me through, just like the way the team leader did before during the internship. because it's true we did the internship, but I still had a lot of difficulties and a lot of lacunes. So that's a little bit how it went. So during that period, I managed to finish the project quite all right, on which I was assigned. And later on, I started a new journey, which was more a journey on front end development, even though I loved back end so much. And I was like, I really need to concentrate on Java first so as not to get confused with lots of technologies. And at the end of the day, I don't master any of them. So I really wanted to remain to focus on Java. So during that period, I started getting training in the company towards front-end development, which was not bad because I got to learn JavaScript, started learning Angular. And it's during that process that an employer from a recruiter from Capgemini contacted me via LinkedIn, and they were like, okay, we have seen your profile, and we were thinking that you could occupy a position with us which fits your profile and all of that. I thought of it and I was like, yeah, it's too early. I just started this journey. I just started my career in tech, and I don't just want to be switching from one company to another when I've not consolidated my competencies and skills yet. But then when I went back home, I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, I've never really been versed with other companies, how interviews go. Let me just give a try. Like, seriously, I was going there not with the intention of actually accepting the position. You know, I just wanted to evaluate myself, see how I fit into the job market, the kind of questions they asked, because I had been with Accenture, and then the first interview I did was after the bootcamp, and it was kind of entry level, and they knew our background. So I wanted to see how the job market could evaluate me, given that I had almost 1 year of experience. So that is how I accepted to do the interview with Capgemini out of curiosity. Like, guys, I'm serious. I didn't really want to change my job. It's true that at Accenture, everything was not perfect, but one thing I loved was the team. I was working in a team, and it was so interesting. We were friends, if I can put it that way. The team was so friendly, and yeah, I was learning from people. Everything was not smooth, but I love the atmosphere. That is one thing I really, really loved about Accenture. The atmosphere was cool. Like, the teammates were cool, the colleagues were cool. So I accepted to do the interview with Capgemini just for curiosity. So the first interview was with the human resource, the recruiter or human resource personnel, something of that sort. And it was more of motivational interview. And the first questions during this interview is always like, why do you want to change your job? And when she asked the question, I was sincere. I told her, I didn't want to change my job, and I've not been looking for a new position yet. That I came because she contacted me via LinkedIn. So I came to explore and see if it will be interesting. That is exactly what I told her that day. So she was like, have you not been looking for new positions before? I told her, no, I've not been looking for new positions before. After that, she was like, tell me a little bit about yourself. What have you been doing? And why will you consider moving from Accenture to Capgemini? And there you need to give some motivational stuff. It's a motivational interview. So you need to tell her why you want to leave your previous employer to come to them, if that was the case, if the interview was successful. So I told her about my experience, and I was very clear with her. I told her my experience. I have 1 year of experience, and as you can see from my CV, I have a background which is not related to computer science. I'm trying to find my way into this tech sector, which to me is interesting, but at the same time is very demanding, and I'm really trying to find my path. I'm not yet very, very confident with the skills I have. And if I was to consider a position with you, it's not going to be a kind of, it's not going to be a mid-level or high-level or senior-level position, because by then I wasn't really confident with my skills and competencies. I still needed to grow. I still needed to learn so many things. I believe that my skills were lagging behind. So I wanted to build on that bit before ever changing. So I was clear with her, and I told her, I'm still building on them, but I'm really motivated in learning. And by then, I already started my YouTube channel, where I used to share a little bit of content, because the aim of my YouTube channel was to help me share content, why I study. Because for me, when I explain something, I understand better. So that's the main reason why I started the YouTube channel, so that I could be able to consolidate the competencies very fast by explaining to other people. And that's one of the things that really gave me points, if I can say, gave me an upper hand, an advantage, because she was like, I really love the spirit, even though you are not yet at a high level. I really love the spirit you have in sharing knowledge. That shows that you really want to invest in your career in tech. So she appreciated that. And yeah, just some few other questions. If I had ever led a team before, of course, no. I told her I hadn't led a team. Because I was still at my early beginnings and I didn't yet have the competencies to lead a team. Leading a team means you have a lot of technical competencies to be able to assist the junior ones when they need help. That I had not yet done. So she asked me role play in a team, which kind of person I am. Am I the kind of person that can easily get along with the others? Can I easily pass my ideas to other people? So this question, for me, it was a little bit, it was not difficult, but I found it very difficult at that point in time to pass my idea to other people, because I always felt that others were better than me. Even in my team, I always felt that others were better than me. They had studied computer science. They had experience. They knew more than me. So most of the time, even if in few occasions I was right, my ideas, I didn't really prove that, okay, I know something. I want to show what I know. I was more of at the background, if I can say it. So I told her, yeah, I was clear. This is the most sincere interview I've ever had, because there it's not like I was struggling to get the position. I just wanted to be truthful, and I went there with the aim of just evaluating and seeing how an interview looks like. So after the interview, she told me, okay, you've had the interview with me, just go back, and in case this interview was positive, I'm going to let you know if you are going to go to the second step of the interview. And the second step of the interview was the interview with was a technical interview with developers and project managers, and yeah, a panel. So I went back very confident. It's not like the first interview where I was so stressed up, I was crying. No, this time around I was so at peace, because I wasn't looking for the job. I wasn't ready to change the job. So I was just like, if it's good, it's good. If it's not good, life moves on. So I went back and I continued my job at Accenture, of course. And after 4 days, I think so, 4 or 3 days, I received a mail from her, and she was like, okay, I really liked your interview, your motivational interview, and now you're going to have a technical interview. So just give me your availabilities. And the technical interview was the most important interview for me, because I wanted to know the kind of questions. I wanted to be in that position where they asked me the questions I used to see on the internet. It's true, I've seen questions on the internet concerning Java and other like, but I really wanted to be in that position. So when she was like, okay, the first step is okay, now you're going to have another interview with the technical panel, and if that interview is okay, you're going to have a last interview just for signing of the contracts and all of that, just for arrangement. I was like, okay, no problem. So I accepted to do the second interview, and we planned for that. So when I got home, and then I think it was like 3 days, I didn't have much time to prepare for the interview. It was kind of 2 days, if I remember well, 2 days or 3 days, or maybe I had just the weekend and it was on Monday. She contacted me on Friday, something, I can't remember well. But the truth is that I didn't really have time to prepare for this interview. So when I went for the technical interview, I was kind of still relaxed, because, when you're looking for a job desperately, the pressure is different. When you want to change your job, the pressure is like the experience is different. When you don't have any pressure on changing your job, and then you're just going there as if you're going to relax, it's equally different. So I was so relaxed. I was really, really relaxed. So I went there, and I had this interview with the panel. And the first question they always ask me is, why did I decide to switch career path, given that I had a master's in economics and management? So they were like, why didn't you consider? That's always the first question. And as I always say, it's because of passion and all of that, even though we all know, as of now, as I said yesterday, it was out of frustration. I didn't get something in the field I loved, and I was passionate about. So that was the first question, and I explained to him it's out of passion. I've developed passion for the industry and all whatnot. So after that, he asked me, the second question was about the kind of projects and competencies I had developed during that 1 year at Accenture and what I was able to do. So for this question, it's basically explaining the projects you have worked on and the technologies you have used. In Accenture, I had worked mostly as back-end using Java, Spring, and some Java EE technologies like the GSF and all of that stuff. I've almost forgotten most of those things. So that was the first question. So I explained to him my task. I explained to him how I use Spring, how I worked with the database, and how I developed components using Java server faces. That is how it's called. Then after that, he moved on in some specific questions. And I remember one of the questions was about design patterns in Java. I didn't really know much about design patterns in Java, but I recall reading somewhere about the singleton design pattern. And the singleton design pattern was talking about classes that we can only create one object from them during the development phase. But the implementation was kind of, I didn't really know how to explain it to him, apart from the fact that it's a design pattern in which we have classes where we can develop just one object from them. But the implementation was not really clear in my mind. Then he moved on to the next question, which was about Hibernate. And we know Hibernate is an object relational mapping. It does object relational mapping with the database. So he asked me about Hibernate and if I had used it before. So I had used Hibernate before in one of the projects. So I explained to him how I used it in the project. And he went to a more specific question. And the question was about the differences between Hibernate and the Java database connectivity. Yesterday, I told you in my first interview, they asked me about the Java database connectivity. So Java database connectivity is kind of really wordy. You need to write everything yourself. You need to handle the exceptions yourself. But when you use Hibernate, it's kind of an abstraction layer. It abstracts it and then it makes you to use the Hibernate query language. I think so. Is that how the thing is called? Yeah, but it's not SQL. I think it's Hibernate query language. Because with GDBC, we use SQL, but with Hibernate, we use the Hibernate query language. I'm going to check, but I'm sure that's how it's called. So those are the kind of differences I had to give him. And then with GDBC, with Hibernate, how does it work? It maps the objects to the schema of the database. You have your objects in Java, and your objects in Java have fields and methods. But your database does not have fields and methods. So there needs to be a way that you can make them to talk to each other so that it can understand that this class I want it to represent the schema of this database. I want the fields to represent these columns, and that's how you do the mapping using the Hibernate. So those were the kind of questions he asked me concerning Hibernate. And later on, one of the questions too was about Spring, because for them, Spring was very important because most of the projects were in Spring Boot, Spring MVC, and I had the opportunity to work with Spring MVC especially in my at Accenture. So he asked me about Spring MVC. MVC is Model View Controller because we want to do separation of concern. You want your applications to be really separated for security reasons, and then equally to facilitate development. You don't want your client side to be so dependent on the server side. That is why we use this Spring Model View Controller. And he equally asked about some specific annotations, because when you're using Spring, they use annotations for abstraction to facilitate the work. Like you can use the request parameter, and then you're going to know that, okay, if you want to call this REST endpoint in its parameters, you have the request body. That means it takes a body, and then you have to do post, get, and all of that. So those were the kind of specific questions he asked me. And not to forget, it seems like there is no interview I have done without a question on the specificity of Java, like talking about inheritance, talking about encapsulation, and talking about polymorphism. So these are the three areas where most of the time the questions really come from. So I think I was able to get through the interview more or less. It wasn't that challenging as I thought. Given my 1 year experience, at least I could manage most of the questions when it regarded things I had done. For example, Spring, the annotations, because they were still fresh in my mind. And yeah, so I think that was it. So that was it for all the questions. Let me just check in case I forgot something. Design patterns, Hibernate, Spring, GDBC, SQL, and yeah. So that was it for the questions and the interview, the technical interview. After that interview, I didn't really have a section for how do they used to call it, for logic, to test my logic. I didn't really have to solve problems, if I can put it that way. So I just did oral technical interview where they asked me things and I explained to them, and I didn't solve anything. I didn't do any coding game or whatsoever. That was just all. So after the interview, they were like, okay, we have had the interview with you, we have had the interview with many other people. In case it's positive, we are going to call you. If it's not positive, that's the end of your journey here. And it was okay for me. I was not so disappointed with the interview. I was like, yeah, not bad, Milen. You did your best. It was not that tough. At least you managed to explain most of the questions, and you knew most of the questions. So it can be good, it can be bad, but I didn't bother much because, as I said earlier, I didn't plan to change my employer yet. After this interview, I went back and I continued working for Accenture normally as if nothing was happening, and knowing that, by the way, I didn't plan to change my job. So when they called me and they were like, girl, your interview was positive, I was like, how was it positive? I was even doubting my own self because, I didn't have interest. I was doubting my own capabilities. I didn't have interest in it. So they told me it was positive. I was like, okay. And they invited me to come and discuss with them on the possibilities and the kind of project I would like to work on and all those stuff. So at that point, I came back to the house and I was like, okay, are you really ready to change your job right now? But in my mind, I was still like, just let it go. Just concentrate on what you're doing. Then another voice was like, no, just go and listen. Just listen to what they're going to offer. Like from the word go, it was always just go and listen, but I kept going. So it was like, just go and listen to what they are going to offer, the contract condition. Maybe it can be better. Maybe they can offer you something better. And if they offer you something better in 1 year, why not? You'll still be doing what you're doing in another company. And yeah, it's still the same job. You'll still be gaining the competencies. And yeah, it will be great. So that is how I accepted to meet the human resource for us to discuss the conditions of the contract and everything. So she presented the contract to me, and yeah, it was kind of a negotiation. It was an appointment for negotiation, if I can put it that way. So we went and negotiated the contract and everything, and the earnings and the salary and everything. And yeah, we negotiated everything. And at first, she didn't agree with some of the conditions I gave her. So she told me, no, my conditions were too much. And yeah, so I told her if those conditions were not to be specified, I think I wasn't going to accept the contract. So I left there that day knowing that, okay, it didn't work out well. And I was putting a lot of conditions just for them to eliminate me. That is the truth. Just for them to tell me, girl, you know what? Stop here. It was nice having an interview with you. Just continue. But that was not the case. So after like 3 or 4 days, she called me back and she was like, okay, we have decided to accept your conditions. And yeah, we are going to draft the contract and send it to you. If you read it and everything is okay, then you can sign it and send it back to us. So I took the contract. I got home. I read it. I read definitely there was an increase in salary, but for some personal reasons, I'm not going to share it. There was an increase in salary, and the terms of the contract were much better compared to what I had at Accenture. So that is how I decided to resign from Accenture and accept the job offer at Capgemini. So that was it for this day two's video. And yeah, just one thing before we conclude this video, because maybe I'm not going to talk about it, or maybe I should do another video to talk about my experience at Capgemini. Time will tell. But the truth is that I regretted changing that early. Yeah, I really, really regretted changing my job so early after just 1 year of experience. I regretted that, but it was too late. I was already in a new company and I just had to deal with it. So that was it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and please don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, and know that the whole of this week we are talking about interview experience, changing of jobs, and how it went. So I'm glad you were here with me. I'm glad we shared this together. Just give it a thumbs up, share, and be here tomorrow at 10 p.m. for another live session on sharing my interview experience. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.